Security officials are investigating how a suspect was able to carry out the deadly attack on a Pride festival in Berlin, despite a history of terroristic behavior. Police say the suspect drove a van into a crowd and then attacked people with a machete. One person died, dozens were hurt. Police said they killed the suspect yesterday after a manhunt that lasted nearly a day. Chris Livesay is in Berlin.
Well, here at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, mourners are laying wreaths behind me, just a short walk from the scene of that horrific attack. Investigators are now facing mounting questions over what they knew about the suspect and how he was able to carry out this attack and if there was a way that they could have intervened. The suspect, 21-year-old Abdul Balout, was killed Sunday after police say he charged officers with a sharp object, ending a nearly 24-hour manhunt. Prosecutors say Balout traveled to Lebanon intending to join ISIS before returning to Germany, where he was convicted in May of preparing a serious act of violence and publishing ISIS propaganda. But he was given a suspended sentence. It's a decision that prosecutors were in the process of appealing. Germany's interior minister has also confirmed that the suspect was ordered to participate in a de-radicalization program. And CBS News has learned police searched Balout's home just 3.5 weeks before the attack over suspected weapons violations. Prosecutors tell us officers found only a toy gun before leaving. Authorities also tell CBS News that he had never actually began that formal de-radicalization program. However, he had undergone some of the preliminary screenings. In fact, he was scheduled for at least one more such screening later today. Back to you.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you so much. We have Doug Kouns standing by. He is the founder and CEO of Veracity Intelligence, Investigations and Research. He's also a former special agent and supervisory special agent of the FBI, so the perfect person to talk to, given your national security background. Doug, good morning. So as our colleague Chris Livesay just outlined, investigators knew this suspect was an extremist. He was on their radar. They went to his house. Did he fall through the cracks, or did the police do the investigative work that was in front of them and they didn't find any kind of hard evidence?
It's a good question. I don't know that I have a good answer for it. I don't think I would describe this as falling through the cracks. They were well aware of this guy, his history. As the speaker before said, he had been to Lebanon to join ISIS and was caught and sentenced there, came back, was served a short, or not even a short sentence, but was given a suspended sentence, I think because of being a juvenile at the time, under 21 there is considered a juvenile, and ordered to undergo this de-radicalization stuff. So I don't think he fell through the cracks. I think it's more of a threat management problem here.
So, Doug, explain that a bit more then, because people in Berlin will likely be outraged this week to know that this suspect was known to police, there was some contact. But what you're saying is that might be police work functioning as it should, looking for evidence and only acting on actionable evidence. But again, it was so early in this investigation. What is your perspective? What do you say to the people in Berlin who will be feeling a lot of pain and trauma, and put it toward the police because they'll say you knew who this guy was?
Right. I don't know what to say to them other than my heart goes out. The police, it appears to me, without knowing all the details of this, are doing their job. They're aware of this guy. They're watching him. A court has let him go. The prosecutor was arguing for a stricter sentence, but things don't always go your way. So the next step is monitoring. How do you contain this threat? And I know back in my day working with the FBI, you always have multiple people that are on your radar. Some of them are at a higher degree than others, and you try to focus your resources, which are limited, to the highest threats. And I would certainly think a guy like this rises to that level of a highest threat. So we're going to put surveillance resources on them, electronic surveillance resources on them. And you got to get a court order for some of these things. But certainly somebody that shows this kind of proclivity for violence and radicalization is a problem, and you've got to deal with that. That said, resources are limited. You do the best you can with what you have. Who knows knows what else they've got going on there. Maybe they've got other threats, and there's just so many people to deal with that. So I hate to be critical, but certainly,
Sure.
you got a big problem here that needs to be addressed. And imagine the outrage here. If somebody like this, that was a known quantity to this degree, got out and did something. So, I mean, the outrage.
Yeah.
Doug, I wonder if you were one of the investigators on this case who had visited the house. Is there anything that you would have done differently, given hindsight's 2020, not necessarily being critical of these officers? And what lessons can we learn here in the U.S. to prevent something like this?
Again, hard to answer without knowing all the details. But if I'm the investigator on this and I feel strongly that this person is a threat, all you can do is make your argument, press to have the resources allocated to you to do the things that you think you need to do, whether that's a 24/7 surveillance team, whether that's a GPS tracker, whether that's phone monitoring, internet monitoring. It just depends on the totality of the situation. But certainly you're also looking for sources of intelligence, people that are close to this person that can kind of advise you that this person's kind of running off the rails again. There's so many layers of attack on some, I hate to use that word, but so many layers of things that you can employ to deal with a threat situation. You do everything you can, and every once in a while they still are able to successfully pull something like this off. These lone, I don't know if he's a lone individual, but these are the hardest ones to follow. You don't have the network of or maybe he did. I don't know all the details of this, but the lone actors are typical the hardest to follow.
All right, Doug. Well, we appreciate your insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug.